Hello, Rockets! On today's segment of Art Rocks, I have a special treat for you. I don't know if you're anything like our family, but we have been watching Frozen 2 every day, probably at least 15 times since break has been going on. So, in honor of Frozen 2, we are going to be designing our own Elsa pictures today. This is probably a third grade on up project. If you're younger and you want to give it a try, then by all means, go ahead. But I will also post a younger video this week too. So to make Elsa, all you need is a piece of paper, a permanent marker, a pencil that has an eraser, and something to color with. I'm going to be using crayons, but you can use whatever you want. So to start with, we're just gonna dive right in here. So you will need to draw the basic shape of her chin. So starting about right here on your paper, you'll wanna draw just like a U shape. I wouldn't push too hard on your pencil because there will be times like right now where you'll go back and you'll kind of say like, oh, I didn't like that shape, I wanna do it again, and that's fine, you can erase however much you want. So just don't press too hard on your pencils. The next thing we need to do is add her eyes. So I'm gonna add a little dot right here, and then another one about right here to kind of indicate where the corner of her eye will be. And then to show where it's gonna end up, I'm gonna put another little dot. So on this side, this eye should end about here, and this eye would end about here. So to draw the top part of her eye, you'll need to curve it down about like that. And again, if you're seeing it and you're like, oh, I don't like that, just erase it and do it again. And then for the other side, like that. Okay, and now we need to connect the under part of the eye as well. So starting on that side, bring it down on either side, and then kind of across. And you don't want to connect them all the way. I'm gonna leave a little white spot on each side here. Okay. Now we're gonna draw the circle parts for each of these eyes. So the first one's gonna go here, and it's just a circle, and you can kind of stop it before it gets to the top. And the same thing on this side. We're gonna add the pupil part, which is another circle inside of that one. Same thing on this side. And then we will need a third circle inside of that, which is just gonna be kind of like the reflection that's gonna show up. So we will go ahead and color the inner one of these circles, but don't color the white reflection tiny circle yet. That one's just gonna stay white. And we'll color this again with our permanent marker in a second, but for now, just to kind of see where it's gonna end up. Okay, we're gonna bring on either side up a little bit from her eye. This is gonna be kind of her eyelashes. And we're not gonna bring it down all the way to here. We're gonna stop it about halfway through her eye here. So we're gonna start to bring it down, and about like that. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. And then go ahead and color these in for now, and when we get to the permanent marker stage, we'll go ahead and just color those in all the way. Okay. I'm gonna make this part just a little slightly darker. And then we can add her nose here. Just a little nose like that, and then a little mouth. She can kind of have a little smirk, or if you just want to draw a regular smile, you can do that too. Coming up just a little bit from her eye, exactly where this would be her left eye, but on our right side, we're gonna draw her eyebrow. So it comes up directly in the same line with that, and it just kind of comes over like that, and ends kind of where her eye does. And then the same thing straight up on that side, and going down on that side. you don't have to make them too thick. The permanent marker will kind of help thicken that up too. Okay, so this is the main part of her face. We're gonna go on and do the top part of her hair now. So her hair is gonna start kind of right in the same line with her nose. I'm just gonna put a little dot there where I know, so I know where to start. It's gonna come up a little bit on this side and connect with where her temple sort of is on that side. And then the same thing here, except we're not gonna connect it. We're gonna keep it going almost like it's gonna be part of her hair. So we're gonna bring it down and then just kind of stop it about like there. Coming back to where this little dot was, we're gonna go up and kind of at an angle a little bit to the left. This is gonna be kind of where she parts her hair. We're gonna draw the top part of her hair and then we're gonna stop. So I'm gonna go about there on this side and then coming back to that part, and I'm gonna stop right about there. Okay, so coming down to where her eye was on this side. Oh, sorry, no, her eye is on this side. We're gonna add another little line. This is just gonna be like her, like strands of hair that we're gonna add. So I just took that right down and stopped it about here. And now I'm gonna connect where we just left off. I'm gonna connect it to that. And then on this side, I'm gonna take this little part right here where we stopped earlier too, and I'm gonna make it come out and down like this. And then to connect it, I'm just gonna kind of bring that down. You might even bring it down more of an angle than that. And I actually wanna stop the hair here and we'll come back and we'll add some more in a minute. So we're gonna come over here to her neck and just 2 little lines coming down, and we're gonna draw where her shoulders would be. So out about there and about there where her shoulders are. Okay. I need to come in a little bit more. All right, so starting right here, this is where her dress is kind of gonna start, at least. We're gonna draw 2 kind of angled in just slightly and bring it down to about here. And then at this point, it's gonna come out a little bit more. And go ahead and stop it here. We'll probably add some more in a second. But for now, we'll go back and we'll draw the top part of her dress. It's kind of a curved line here. And then to connect it to her shoulders, actually I'm gonna bring the shoulder in a little bit. It's just kind of a loop there, or a bent line. Okay, we'll come back and finish her arms in just a second, but I do want to go on and do the bottom part. So if you've seen the movie, she kind of wears like pants underneath this dress. So to show that, we're gonna kind of show where the dress would kind of part here. So starting on this side, we're just gonna make a line going down. I'm actually gonna bring this dress out a little bit so we have more room. So maybe erase, maybe not quite so much in the center. There we go. And then, so starting about here, maybe in the middle, you're gonna draw a line that just comes straight down. This is gonna be also kind of the other part of her dress, and her foot will kind of be sticking out from this side. So you can kind of take that down on this side, and then same thing over here, kind of connect them. And then to draw her foot, so her toes are gonna end up about right here. So we wanna probably make her foot actually be about right here. So you can kind of draw this little curvy line for her ankle, and then her leg is gonna be kind of running perpendicular to this line. So you can kind of bring that up. And you're not gonna see a whole lot of it, really just her right leg kind of hidden. And then we'll kind of bring down to show that she doesn't have shoes on here. She's actually barefoot. So we can draw her toes, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's all you need to do on this for her foot. We are gonna draw the back of her dress, so just to kind of connect it on either side there to show that it's the back. So coming back to finish her arms here, Her arms are gonna kind of run down like this on either side. And to show where they stop, I'm gonna just draw kind of like the cutoff of her sleeve. And her fists are kind of like clenched in a fist. So she'll have her thumb here. You'll just make a line like that. And her thumb here on this side. And then kind of connect them like that on either side. Now the last thing, well, before we do her hair, we need to actually do her cloak. So her cloak kind of falls behind her. So starting where these shoulder little sleeves are, you're going to kind of just make a wavy line going down on either side and then connect them, maybe not all the way to the bottom to show that it kind of is different, and you'll kind of leave it at that. Okay, we're gonna come finish her hair on this side. So kind of going along this line, we're gonna almost make this a new strand. So we're gonna bring it all the way down, and it's gonna end up right where her hands are. And then we're gonna come down here about halfway, well, about to the bottom of her eye, really. We're gonna make another strand, and it is also gonna end up about the same place, right where her hands would be, and then kind of erase that. The last thing we need to do, I'm actually gonna make this a little bit taller, give her more of a poofy hair. The last thing we're gonna do here is add some streaks to show the different strands of her hair. So one strand could be kind of coming out on this side and just kind of going down like that. And then on either side here. You'll want to come up to where the part is and try to add some here. So I would add a couple on this side. They don't have to go all the way across. You can make them go all the way across though. Okay. I think we're at a stopping point for your pencil. So let's go ahead and get out our permanent marker. For this part, you're gonna want to go over every single line basically that you did. Every single line that you want to keep. So again, if at this point, if you want to go back and fix something or erase something, now would be the time. I like adding the permanent marker because it gives it a little bit more of a pop, and it helps really to show on all your hard work here. So be careful, some of these little toes might be tricky, but just do the best you can. So I decided I don't want that to come up all the way, so I'm gonna just go ahead and do that with my permanent marker here, and then in a second I'm gonna go back and erase all of the extra little pencil lines that we have. And then try to be careful when you get to the face, because some of these are also a little bit smaller, maybe more delicate than her dress was. So you can color in where we colored in earlier with our pencil. But again, remember these little white dots here should stay white, so make sure you really give a wide circle around them so that way they don't get any black in them. And that one's good. Okay, Now at this point, you're gonna wanna take your pencil again and go back and erase anything that's pencil that's kind of sticking through. So you don't have to get it all, but as much as you can, so that way when you go over it with color, it won't be showing it all. Okay, next we will move on to the crayon stage. Probably the biggest part that you'll do is her hair. So I would take a yellow and just kind of go through and color all of her hair yellow. Try to be careful when you're coloring so that make sure you're staying in the lines here. And then in a second, we're gonna get a different color and kind of add some little highlights to this yellow hair to kind of help make it pop a little bit. So your second color is going to need to be a little bit darker. So if you have either a darker shade of this yellow, or I think I'm actually gonna use maybe a tan color. Let's see. Okay, yeah, so this one says tan. We'll use this one. And it doesn't have to be too hard. You don't have to push too hard on your crayon. You're really just gonna add almost some like pointy triangle shapes throughout here, or even just some streaks to add a little bit of color here. Behind her neck, or behind her face kind of, it's gonna be a little bit darker just to show that there's more shadow. So you can color in a little bit of the tan on that side more than you would. Okay, and then when you're happy with that, we can move on to her skin. Her skin could just be like a peach color or an apricot if that's one that you have, or even like a light tan. So I'm gonna go ahead and color her skin. And we're gonna go over the skin in a second to kind of give it a few little accents also. When you're coloring the face, make sure you remember that her eyes, this part of her eye really needs to stay white. So even though you didn't connect it here, just kind of connect it with your crayon and make sure that you don't color the inside of that because that is still gonna be white. So you can go ahead and color all of this. And then here. And then don't forget her hands and her foot. So to give a little accent to her skin here, I'm gonna take a pink color and just kind of, it doesn't have to be like a circle, rosy cheeks, but we're just gonna add a little bit of pink on this side and a little bit of pink on this side. A little bit of pink just right here to kind of show some depth, and also maybe on the top of her head a little bit. Nothing too crazy. You don't want her to look like she's sunburnt. Her eyes are going to be a blue, so if you'll take your blue crayon, the top part of her eye here is going to be kind of a darker blue. So you'll do kind of the top part really just pushing on your crayon. When you get halfway, I would start to kind of lighten it up a little bit, almost to fade away to a very, very light blue at the very bottom. Like that. And then the last part we need to do are the accents to her dress. So using that same blue that you just did and a purple crayon, we're gonna add some accents. So let's do the top part first. I'm just gonna add some triangles. The dress is mostly white, so we don't need to do too much here. I'm just gonna draw 4 triangles, or 5 little triangles on this side, or not triangles, sorry, diamonds, and then you're gonna do the same thing with purple right underneath it. And then maybe one more row underneath that, but on this row I'm just gonna put 4, kind of in the windows of the other ones. And then moving on to the bottom part, I'm gonna put some diamond shapes at the bottom in purple still. Maybe one here in the cloak part. And then I'm gonna do the same thing right on top of it with our blue here. And then our last step is just going to be to add a little bit of detail with this blue and with our purple. So very lightly, you're just gonna kind of come throughout here and just add kind of along the edges, just a little bit, very light color of this blue. And this is just for the back cape that I'm doing the blue with. Just kind of add some in there. And then I'm gonna do the same thing with purple on the front part of her dress. So kind of just almost like streaks running through where you just did the diamonds. And then I'm gonna put a little bit back behind her. And there is Elsa. So I look forward to seeing these. When you're finished, send them to me at melam@strockindy.org. And I look forward to seeing what you create.